Hello, and welcome to People Keep Dying, the podcast where we talk about people who die. I'm your host, Stephanie.
And I'm your other host, Angela.
And welcome to episode 18.
Woo, we're legal.
Yeah,
we can vote now.
Our podcast is legal and it can vote. So you can start talking dirty to it. No, actually, I'll talk dirty to my podcast. You can talk dirty to my podcast too. Leave a like, a review. All that fun stuff. We love it. So it's the new year. Welcome to 2019. I hope that everybody had wonderful holidays. Yes. Was your holidays great, Angela?
It was nice.
There were holidays.
They were nice. Everyone got nice gifts. Normal, stressful, dumb stuff that everyone has, and that's it. But I got nice gifts from my husband, which is the most important.
Yes.
Because I told them specifically that if I didn't like my present, I'd throw it back at him, and he would have to get me new presents.
The most important thing wasn't her spending the time with the family. It was her husband getting her the right gift.
I see that everyone in the family way too often to be like, oh, it's special. Like, we see each other once a week, so it's not like,
I reeled myself back this year for Christmas and was really concerned that nobody was going to like any of their presents because I normally go above and beyond and like super crazy.
I'm glad you didn't.
Everybody loved their gifts this year, which made me really, really happy. And I loved the gifts that I got this year. But loved spending time with my family. Got to did a lot of traveling. Got to see everybody. It was very quiet, very quick, and I'm glad it's fucking over.
Anyways, let's get along with these.
Okay, yes.
Murder?
Well, mine. Okay, so today I am going to talk to you about the 2003 European heat wave. Okay. So it's not a murder, but lots of people died. And since we currently live in a continent where the collective governments have been working overtime to deny climate change and global warming, except maybe not Mexico. I didn't really want to wrap Mexico into that because
they might, though. I'm not really sure. And there's other North American countries obviously here, but there's so many small ones.
There's three countries in North America.
There's like Guatemala, which is a country.
Isn't that South America?
I think that's North America.
I'm pretty sure North America is just Mexico, the United States, and Canada.
I'm pretty sure there's smaller ones. And technically, what's Cuba? Is Cuba's a country itself, right? And Cuba is definitely part of North America.
Okay, well, now I'm just a fucking idiot. And now I'm going to feel even more stupid because I'm going to start talking about science, too. So, all right, well, whatever.
Sorry.
The Americas, the Canadian... Not all of the Canadian government, but either way, we've got some fucking climate change deniers, and people just keep dying due to the effects of climate change.
It's like the American government. Not all of the American government denies climate change. Just enough of them.
Just enough people who are working overtime to deny that it's happening
because of money.
Yes,
it's always money. It's not actually because you don't believe in climate change. It's for money. It's always fucking
because
money.
In order to agree that climate change is happening, you'd have to stop doing these other things. But
make you lots of money.
Like those things make you lots of money, and a lot of like, it's a money thing. But anyways, I'm going to be nerding it up just a little, and I'm gonna go a little sciencey. And to our listeners, I apologize. I'm not very good at science. It wasn't something that I excelled at when I was in school. But as an adult, I do get a little bit curious more about science. But there's just so much of it, and it gives me anxiety. And so I apologize if I get anything wrong, as I've already started to with the country story. So. we're just gonna move on. Let's begin. So global warming refers to the long-term warming of our planet, and according to NASA's website, the average surface temperature has risen over 1.15 degrees Celsius since 1750. And it was basically like from 1750 to 1880, the global temperature rose 0.15 degrees Celsius, and then from like the 1950s to like now, it's gone up 1 degree, which is a lot in a small period of time. Climate change, however, refers to the range of changes that is happening to our planet that includes which includes global warming, but also includes rising sea levels, shrinking mountain glaciers, ice melting in our Arctic regions at an accelerated rate, and our plants and flowers are blooming in a different time. So the time is starting to shift as to when our plants are blooming. I just said that, which affects our wildlife and our insects and just life in general.
Everyone's sleeping patterns.
Yeah. So because these changes are caused by warming, global warming and climate change are often interchangeable, but they strictly refer to different things. And I just wanted to explain that to anybody that didn't know what climate change or global warming is.
Climate isn't weather.
Yeah. It's just like, it's everything. So human activities are usually used as the main culprits to be blamed for climate change. But I just want to point out that our planet has gone through several extreme climate changes in the past. We've had, I think it's like at least 5 ice ages, which is global warming. Our planet just naturally goes into these phases where it needs to heal itself, and humans weren't fucking tracking shit when it happened beforehand. Now we can. And
I think that's what some climate change deniers, I think, have said, is that, well, this was always going to happen. So what's the point of me changing what I'm doing right now? Because it's going to happen. It's like,
yeah, but it's not, you can't deny that it's happening. Like, that's not denying that it's happening. You're just like being
like, not helping.
Whatever.
You're accelerating the situation.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But whatever. You don't care. You don't care.
These
people have children, by the way. Where do you think your children are going to grow up?
Oh my God. One of the saddest things that I had ever seen was this little like 10-year-old kid or something had written that he never got to see the dinosaurs, so he's not worried if he ever sees polar bears. And I was just like,
wow.
That's not how that's supposed to work.
No, that's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, like
that is literally
poor polar bears. Okay. So the planet's extreme climate changes were caused by both internal and external factors, and so there's a lot at play. But realistically, humans should be doing everything that they fucking can to limit their contributions to global warming, because we can't control what the volcanoes are doing. We can't control what the sun and solar waves are like spewing at our planet. We can't control the tectonic plates and how they're moving. We can't control that. But what we can control is how much fucking fossil fuels we're burning, how many holes we're punching into our ozone layer.
It's crazy to me because when I was younger, I remember like a Rocko's Modern Life. TV, like the episode where they talk about the ozone layer. They talk about how bad it is for you to kill it, and that was from so long ago, and now we're still acting like it's not a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we went more backwards as we got more into the future.
I don't. Yeah. Because they're just like, whatever. Like,
it's too late. It's too inconvenient to change things now.
And I also think it's like people like, it's not what you do now isn't necessarily going to affect us now. Like maybe what we do now saves us 100,000 years and like later on. People don't fucking care about 100,000 years from now. And we need to, as a human species, have a little bit more foresight. We live in the day and age where we have the ability to have as much foresight as we can because we have so much history to base everything off of.
Plant more trees.
Plant more trees. London, like I love London. I love what London's doing with their 1 million trees. Plant lots of trees.
When you die, become a tree.
Are we going to push that every episode?
Yes. When you die, you should become a tree.
Just be a tree.
My sister told me that I couldn't be buried in it because technically I'm Catholic, and as a Catholic, you're supposed to be buried.
The fuck
but
ever.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure Catholic cemeteries still have trees, so I can't be a tree there. If that's like
just
the situation, I could still be a tree there. I could be an acorn tree.
If you really need to have the plaque that says your name, just get the little plaque on the tree.
Yeah.
Like you can still get the little.
You can even get a little bench next to the tree, and people can sit next to you.
Exactly.
And
then when that tree gets old, you cut down that tree, you plant a little sapling from that tree, and then you make the bench out of the tree.
Yeah. How great is that?
And then you just keep growing.
Yeah. Like I don't understand why more people don't just die and become trees. This is my big problem with it.
Yeah.
I think it's there for hauntings.
Let's get out of the graveyards.
Don't care.
Man, that's like... We did not record these episodes back to back, so us talking about the graveyard and the tree stuff, like that is clearly just something that we like to think about
a lot.
So the European heat wave of 2003 is thought to be the continent's warmest period of extreme heat since at least the 1500s. It is said to be caused by a large persistent area of high pressure that sat across most of Europe between July and August, which gave day after day, of sunshine and warmth, but no rain. So they ended up going through a drought, which allowed the heat to continue to build. And as the drought carried on and the heat continued to get worse, it just started getting like too much, and people started to die. Some reports said that over 70,000 people died during this heat wave.
How hot did it get in some places?
So the hottest that I saw that it got was 105 degrees Fahrenheit, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot to them because that's not something that they're used to. But I'll get to most of it was in the high 30s
here, but we see it often enough that we're adjusted to it. But if that happened, I'm pretty sure in like Quebec. What's really north from here? Yukon. If it happened in the Yukon, people there would die.
Yeah, like if it happened in Nunavut, or like Greenland, or like any fucking even Northern Ontario. If it happened in North Bay, they'd be like, holy shit. If North Bay went like an entire week of over 40 degrees Celsius, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'll get
I mean, we still feel that way here, but at least it's like,
but we cooled down, and there wasn't ever a
cool down period. Yeah, I think that's that's what it seems like.
Some reports said over 70,000 people died during the heat wave. However, most of the articles that I read claimed between 30 to 40,000. So I'm not really sure what the actual number is. But it was a fucking lot of people. Too many people died. So many European countries experienced their highest temperature on record, and it should be noted that Europe doesn't typically have very hot summers. So I think they average in the 10s to 20s, and then maybe on a bad day it might get up to the 30s, and this was averaging the high 30s, low 40s.
Jesus. That's some Vegas weather right there. That's real. That's desert weather. Yes. That's real bad.
Which they're not used to. Their buildings are not built to support that kind of heat.
The buildings start melting.
There were some stuff actually did end up melting, and it was like crazy.
Like in Arizona when all those like mailboxes melted.
That's so I can't. Ooh. When I see like videos of people out frying eggs on the dashboards of their car, I'm like, that's too fucking hot. Like, what are you?
I grew up with that, but still awful.
That is insane. So Europe doesn't typically have very hot summers, especially in the more northern areas. So a lot of deaths and issues that arose during the summer of 2003 was because people just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
The extreme heat wasn't considered a major hazard, so there wasn't a plan put in place with the government, and it was just like people didn't know. So since most nights in Europe, the temperatures go down and things cool off, their houses were built with stone, concrete, or brick, and so that it wouldn't warm up too much during the daytime when the sun, but it would absorb enough sun, and then it would just radiate the heat at nighttime. And like you would just have like
a very baking an oven.
Yes, a very stable temperature. So air conditioners weren't necessary, so houses built within the last like 30-40 years or houses built before 30 years ago didn't have any air conditioning units in them.
I mean, I grew up without an air conditioning unit.
It wasn't something that a lot of places had. So there's just it's not at all like how I grew up, where I had air conditioning. It was hot in the summer, but then it would be cold as shit. I
lived in LA where it definitely gets 110 degrees sometimes, and we didn't have air conditioning. But I was like, well, you have a fan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah,
there's ice.
Get some ice. Well, that like they couldn't even keep that.
No.
And it was because like for 500 years they never had any issues. Their temperature never really got all that high. So like, I mean,
you're not thinking about it.
You're not thinking about it. It's not a plan. So when the heat wave hit, the temperatures were so hot during the day, and then at some points it would even get hotter at night. So they weren't ever getting that cooling down period.
Yeah.
And so the stone and the brick and what have you that was that they built these houses out of never had a chance to cool down. So these houses basically turned into tiny little stone pizza ovens.
Yeah,
that's what I call them. I was like, and so they just like cooked little people pizzas. Oh my god, I'm just gonna cut that out. It's so bad.
Pizzas.
Yeah, pizzas. And France was actually hit the hardest because they had 8 straight days of temperatures over 100 degrees, and it never dipped underneath, or was never a cooling period, which that is fucking insane. And like I mentioned before, people didn't know how to react to the extreme heat. They didn't know like what to do to fix that. They didn't have fans available. They didn't have air conditioning.
They wouldn't have all that stuff in stores either, because they would have sold out everywhere. Really, it happens here every summer.
Mm-hmm. Every summer.
Yeah.
So most of the people who died were the elderly, who were living by themselves, and they were too mentally or physically impaired to make the necessary changes in order to avoid the heat. Oh, no. And also, most of the people died to dehydration because they weren't hydrating themselves enough to combat, because they just didn't know.
You don't know you're supposed to be drinking like a liter more of water every day because you're sweating so much.
And this was one of the times where the more of the people that died weren't actually the weakest people, because the elderly who were in old folks' homes, they had people that would take care of them. So these were like elderly people who were living on their own. They were probably established. Maybe they didn't have health issues. They were just like, they didn't need enough attention, or they didn't require enough attention to require living in a home, but they still couldn't take care of themselves. So from July 22nd to August 22nd, nearly 15,000 people in France alone died from the heat, which was more than 19 times the death toll of the SARS epidemic worldwide. And I remember the SARS epidemic
was
and how
a
many
big
people
deal.
died from that.
Yeah.
This was a 1-month period in one city. So many fucking people, 15,000.
People don't care because it doesn't affect them personally. It's really always the reason why.
It was affecting everywhere, but France got hit the hardest.
Yeah.
This was compounded a lot more because it was in August, and apparently over there, August is where a lot of people take their vacations. Apparently, a lot of companies will shut down in August so that their employees can take vacations. It's just like August is vacation month, and so the government, a lot of government employees and medical practitioners were on vacation, and then like people would just be out, and then they would come home to find that their family members had died. And bodies wouldn't be claimed for weeks because people were on vacation, and then they'd come back, and then they weren't talking to their parents, or for whatever reason.
Like it's not like we talk to our parents when we go on vacation.
Yeah. And then like you come back, and it was just that this all comes into play later on. So they had to set up refrigerated warehouses because undertakers and funeral homes were running out of space. Like that's like so many people were dying, they didn't know what to do with the bodies. And then by the end of September, 57 bodies had still remained unclaimed. So they held a mass funeral and buried them in a little pauper plot. Pauper? I didn't even write the.
Literally never heard of this before. So yes, in a pot.
Not a pot. P-A-U-P. Pauper. It's like poor, like a little.
Oh, like a pauper, like a prince in a pauper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as with every major death like event, there was a lot of controversy over like who was to blame, and realistically, it was nature's to blame. So like, who do you really blame? But the government blamed a whole bunch of stuff. So they recently had instituted a 35-hour work week down from the 39-hour work week. So it like limited how many people, the times of which doctors could work. So they were blaming that people were dying because they had changed
That's not the reason at all.
That's not the reason.
Maybe one extra person could have been saved, or a couple extra people may have been able to be saved.
Well, they like studies. Maybe. They did a couple of research, and they had said like having more doctors wouldn't have helped anything. No.
Because the doctors, by the time people died,
it's hard to say whether or not more doctors would have had anything, because it was just like it's 15,000 people. Like, you would have need to have hired like hundreds of doctors, like
who were sitting next to the people, while they were dying to save them.
And it wasn't a doctor shortage. It was that they didn't know the people that didn't have somebody there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so
there's no one to blame for it. It's just a really shitty situation.
The government also blamed family practitioners that went on vacation in August.
That's so stupid.
But many companies traditionally closed in August, so people had no choice into when they could vacation. And it's just like it's not like they knew the heat wave was going to come. Like, the government sure shit didn't fucking know. Like,
the government didn't fucking know. Then how the fuck is everyone else supposed to know?
Yeah. So they blamed then they also blamed the families, saying that it was their fault for leaving their elderly behind with nobody to care for them, which apparently was a shared sentiment, because lots of people were blaming family members of the people that died. And some people were even blaming the family structure in France, basically stating that, like, we don't love our old people anymore. As soon as we're done with them, we like ship them off, and we don't like care about them, and we don't go see them. We don't talk to them. And like, families just aren't as close and tight as other European countries are,
which is probably true. But then it doesn't mean that those people could have been, like, some people may not have been saved regardless. They're
not to blame.
There's still people who died even though they weren't old.
Yeah.
So it's not a guaranteed thing either. Are you gonna sit there and watch your grandparents and make sure that they're not gonna harm themselves? Like, that's
it was just like, you know, when everybody just needs, I understand everybody needs something to blame, but the families are not to blame for the old, for the elderly dying. Like, it's just, so they claimed that the elderly didn't die from the heat wave, that they died from isolation and insufficient assistance.
That's stupid.
And other people blamed the government, the governing administration, especially the health minister, Jean-Francois Mette, because he didn't even bother returning from his fucking vacation when the heat wave started getting worse. So it's like,
he definitely should have, and he should have put out a public notice announcement about what you should be doing during a heat wave.
No, he was working to limit the emergency measures at the public hospitals by recalling physicians.
Oh, that's
so they wanted to blame the physicians, and then they wanted to blame the families on vacation, while their fucking government was the one that wasn't even coming back, and they were limiting the amount of doctors that was going to be there anyways.
Like, have they considered maybe it's the government officials who decided it was more important to do whatever the else fuck they were doing instead of putting public notice announcements? It's not like they did everything possible.
And it's
or
also
trying
like,
to get more units available to the country as well, getting more imported from China or wherever the fuck else.
Like, they did, and that was the thing. They didn't know what to do. There wasn't a plan in place, because like, they have plans for terrorist attacks and for other stuff like that, but like a heat wave, because they haven't had anything in 500 years. So I don't.
It's no one's fault, but it's fucked up that they're trying to blame someone else. So if they're gonna blame someone, they should blame themselves.
So some of the other countries that got affected by this was Portugal. They estimated Portugal estimated 1,866 to 2,039 people died to heat-related causes. August 1st was their hottest day, and at dawn of that day, a freak storm developed in the southern region of the country, and over the next week, a hot, strong wind contributed to the spread of an extensive forest fire, which wiped out 5% of Portugal's countryside and 10% of all of their forests, and 18 people died due to the forest fires. That was the only one that I sort of, like, forest fires were going crazy, obviously, because there wasn't any rain.
Yeah.
And it was just destroying everything.
We just experienced that in LA.
Yep.
So
Canada, North America just got hit hard this year with forest fires. Like,
but then the fact that it almost crept into, like, it basically crept into all the rich people's houses, which is why it's like no care in the beginning. But I mean, affecting anyone's house, regardless of how rich you are, sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, if they would have wiped out a poor town, they would have been like, well, they shouldn't have been so poor. It's so rude. So the Netherlands recorded 1,500 heat-related deaths, mostly all elderly again. Spain initially only reported 141 deaths caused by the heat wave, but the following year when they did a research study, they found 12,963 people had died.
Pretty big discrepancy.
Yeah, that is a huge discrepancy. Like, where did they hide those 13,000 bodies? Like,
they just didn't count them. Maybe they're all like people. Maybe they're homeless people or really poor people. Our entire family dies, so no one can account for the family dying because the entire family's dead.
Yeah, I don't. It's just so bad. 7 cities in Spain broke the temperature records, all in the high 80s and 40s. Italy lost between 1,200 to 4,200 people. Germany lost between 300 to 7,000 people, again, mostly elderly. Their water levels dipped so low that they were unable to ship through the Elbe and Danube rivers. In the UK, the tarmac melted on part of the M25, which is an orbital motorway encircling most of Greater London, between junctions 26 and 27, which caused the rails to buckle, and then 2 boys ended up drowning. So shit was melting. Like, the tarmac melted. I just can't. News article stated that more than 2,000 people died than averagely in 2003, in the summer of 2003. And I don't know if that meant that like 2,000 people died due to the heat wave, or if they were just like an extra 2,000 people died this year.
Yeah, in comparison to the previous year.
Like,
yeah.
It really wasn't. People were not like, the numbers were so spread apart that it was like, you could just tell that it wasn't tracked. It just wasn't tracked very well. So aside from basically like 50,000 like old people dying, they also had some effects on the crops, some good and some bad. Wheat was a huge issue because the drought agriculture took a huge loss, and while the UK, Italy, and France only lost about 10 to 20% of their wheat production, other countries like the Ukraine lost 75% of their harvest, and Moldova lost 80% of their harvest, and the European Union as a whole lost 10%, estimating $13.1 billion in losses of just wheat. The heat wave also contributed to changing the seasonal current of the central Mediterranean Sea, which affected the stocks of a lot of the fish species in that region. And they're still seeing the ramifications from that. However, it wasn't all bad, because the heat wave ended up making some really good wine. Because apparently the higher heats dehydrated the grapes quicker, making for a more concentrated juice. And by mid-August, they had already hit their peak optimal sugar content for harvesting, which was a month ahead of the schedule.
So they made money back in wine for some places?
Well, not really, because a lot of places weren't really equipped to harvest early.
No,
and so
that wine's wasted.
Yeah, and it's also like, so not a lot of wine was made.
But the wine from that time that was made is fucking amazing.
But apparently it's really good. It's exceptional quality. The alcoholic content is higher than like how they normally are, because they fermented, or I don't know, the sugars were just higher. French vineyards ended up winning a whole bunch of awards for their wine from 2003, which
only 12,000 people died for your wine.
Yeah, only a few people had to die for that.
Yeah.
And Hungary walked away with a whole bunch of medals at the 2003 International Wine Contest. And yeah, that's it. That's my story.
Woohoo! Delicious wine.
We
should find a bottle of 2003 wine from France and then open it up now, like pop. And
we should
drinking.
We should get a bottle of 2003.
It's probably super expensive now.
And nothing really, like, basically the 2003 European heat wave was like the kicking point of like, hey, bad shit happens with this climate change, so like maybe they need to like get
do
on
something
it
about it,
which is why France is like really, really big in the climate change.
Yeah, the Paris climate change agreement and everything else. I wonder if something like this happened in other countries that we just cared less about. Probably.
Well, this one was the worst heat wave.
Okay.
There have been other heat waves where people have died. There was one in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2008, 2013, and 2014. I looked them up. But they weren't as bad as the 2003. They didn't have as much of a death count because this one happened. And this one killed so many fucking people.
People were more prepared this time.
And so, like, they had a better plan in place for the next one. They probably had a lot more bottled water. Because I remember the 2003 heat wave. I remember it was bad here. I didn't realize, like,
I didn't realize anything about Europe, but I remember it being bad when I was at home as well. But there's just sometimes where it's always bad.
Yeah, because what's like... Yeah, because 100 degrees isn't much to you.
It still is. It still is really bad.
It's hot.
It's just, it's something you do see in every summer. So you can kind of, it's like when you see -30 here or even -40 at this point. It's like, well, we see it. So it sucks, but we see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it gets over 15 degrees with me, it's too fucking hot.
No.
And it needs to cool the fuck down.
No, I love it. I don't like it in Vegas though, because it feels like you're walking into an oven.
Yeah, it's like 43 it's a dry heat,
dry.
Isn't it?
Yeah, like LA is also dry, but it's 43 and dry, and it's fucking hot. Yeah. But I need it to be around like 28 degrees all times. 32 if it's like in a beach weather situation. That's why I like Mexico. They have really good weather.
I don't know, man.
All right, so I'm gonna jump to my story, and we're going to Pakistan.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna butcher everyone's names because I don't know how to say. I know how to say the girl's name, but I don't know how to say her real name. So it's gonna be fun. Okay, so this is about Qandeel Baloch, who was born March 1st, 1990, into a poor and underprivileged family in Dera Ghazi Khan, Pakistan, to father Muhammad Azim and mother Anwar Bibi. You don't have to remember names because I do mention their names again, but I will mention
Muhammad and Bibi.
Anwar. Her first name is Anwar. Last name is Bibi.
Okay.
So
Muhammad and Anwar.
The region is known to be a very poor population ruled by rich landlords and politicians, like most places I feel like in the world where it's a lot of really poor people, and then there's a small population of very rich people who control everything.
You can't have, there's never an area of like all poor people, is there? Like,
there probably
I mean, when you say an area, that's so fucking,
because there's like isolated islands that you know,
but there's still like some person, like there's always one person.
There's a chief, but I don't think they're rich. They just have more power. Yeah. But anyways, while Pakistan is already a pretty conservative country, this region is even more conservative.
Ooh, ultra conservative.
Ultra conservative. She had 6 brothers and 2 sisters.
Not that conservative then.
That's super conservative. Not to use birth control is super conservative.
Yeah. But they're having all of the sex, multiples.
As long as you have sex during the nighttime in Ramadan, you can still have sex. It is an acceptable thing to have sex. You can't have sex during Ramadan at the same time you can't eat during the daylight times at Ramadan. But you can but because sex is a natural thing that you need in life, you can have sex at nighttime.
Ooh.
Yes.
Thanks, India.
Unfortunately, don't know that much about the religions there because I didn't grow up with it, but I did like look up random things about it. So,
well, that's because I ask random questions.
That, and I was also curious.
Yeah.
But Qandeel was high-spirited, who loved climbing trees, and would say that she would not be covering herself up, which is a big deal because Qandeel is a woman, and women are not allowed to show anything ever.
What are they allowed to show? Just their eyes, right?
Basically, where she lived.
Do they also have to wear gloves over their hands?
Everything's covered. Yeah, and where she lived, you never saw a woman on the streets. They were home.
Ooh.
If they left, they were completely covered. It's a big, really conservative. Where she lives particularly, other parts of Pakistan are not that conservative. It's just where she grew up was.
Sometimes I wonder, like, where the mindset of, like, what started that tradition of, like, women can't leave the house. They always have to be covered up.
I mean,
like,
every religion I could think of has always downplayed women. Women are never important. Women are always a subservient or always, like, the lower class human being in almost every religion I could think of.
Yeah, and I don't understand.
So I think it's just like, I don't know. I'm not really sure what it is. But women aren't people.
Yeah, women aren't people.
So in Shada Sadadin, women are rarely seen, and if they venture outside of their family compounds, they have to cover up completely.
Yeah.
In her youth, she became interested in fame after getting a TV in their home. And while her staunchly very conservative dad was against having one in their home, her mom snuck some money to one of her brothers who bought one for them.
Aww.
Yeah. She would watch it and say, one day I will act and sing too. I'll be like one of those city girls on TV shows. Which means like, yeah, it's just her area was super conservative. But in other parts of Pakistan, there are people who dress normally.
Is this an acid in the face attack?
No.
Okay, good.
It's not going to be good either way.
I'm sorry. Yeah. This is a sad story.
Acid in the face doesn't kill anyone though, but I guess if she committed suicide, it would have still been a death.
I mean, someone may have died from acid in the face.
Usually it just disfigures them and they want to die.
That's terrible.
That's the worst part about acid attacks, I think. You don't die and you get to live with all this pain for the rest of your life. And the guy gets away with it. That's great. So in 2008, when she was 17 years old, she was put into a forced arranged marriage to a Sheikh Hussein and had one son with him. After a year, she left with her son to Darul Aman, saying that he was being abusive.
Mm-hmm. He probably was.
Yeah. Her son became sick and she couldn't afford treatment, so she gave custody back to a sheikh.
Oh, no.
She didn't go back, though. She just gave her son back to him. But this is in her words.
Yeah.
She would later go on to say that he never told my child I am his mother. It was a forced marriage. A sheikh claimed on a TV interview that their marriage was a love marriage. I still have the letters which she wrote with her blood. She wanted a car and bungalow from me. So
wait, what?
Yeah, like he was basically
So he was saying
that she loved him and it wasn't a forced marriage and he wasn't abusive. She just left because she wanted more.
Like saying that, oh, I have these love letters, so it was love. Like women write love letters
in blood.
In blood. That's next level. If someone wrote me a letter in blood, I'd be like, okay, let's go get married now. Put a baby in me.
Ew. Anyways, in December 2013, Qandeel tried out for Pakistan Idol, where she was torn apart by judges for being generally bad. Mm-hmm. But the audience took notice of her, and she soon took off in social media. It's because she was basically like, right before like they do like the audition, they do like a taping of like her, and she's like, "I'm gonna be famous. I'm so pretty and I'm sexy." And like you're supposed to. That's how you fucking sell yourself. So I get it. Mm-hmm. Having discovered social media like the rest of Pakistan, she saw a platform she could excel in where she could reach a huge audience without worrying about pleasing TV establishments. Mm-hmm. She started to regularly appear on Pakistani TV shows to either perform songs or discuss her rising social media popularity. She had very popular catchphrases such as "How I'm looking," which is "How am I looking?" and "I'm getting a headache," in a funny and catchy tone. And Vine videos.
Why would "I'm getting a headache" be?
I think it's the way she said it. Okay. It was funny. And like you've seen videos like that where it's not the context, it's just how they say it. Yeah. She was beautiful and showed off a great deal of sexual energy that went against the grain of Pakistani culture.
I imagine
so. She danced around in a bikini, she wore one piece,
She was even, okay. So she was going all out.
She twerked for the cameras. Filmed herself taking a bath, but not naked, but like in a bathtub with the bubbles and stuff, and dancing in a bikini, which that's not allowed.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little shocked for how conservative they are that they would even allow that content to go into the internet. Yeah, but I mean, we already know that there's certain countries that like super limit.
But you can't stop the internet. When it's out there, it's already out there.
Yeah, and plus, but they would be able to limit what she like.
There's still liberals in Pakistan. It's just where she was originally from was super conservative. Because obviously they were super interested in her because they still interviewed her on TV and they talked to her all the time.
Get those ratings so they can get the clicks.
Yeah. It's not all about sex though, as female fans found her charming and goofy, which is what you always hear about when you hear about like celebrities.
Inspiring.
Yeah. She seemed to really speak to the youth of Pakistan who were also probably tired of being told to stay in your lane, listen to your parents, live this very conservative lifestyle. She went against that and She also inspired thousands of young people, especially women, who admired this simple girl's transformation into the country's biggest celebrities. And she was constantly trying new things to stay relevant in the spotlight. By 2014, she started to gain some ad revenue, paying her as they were paying her to plug their products on Facebook.
Yeah.
This helped pay for her increasingly expensive lifestyle, but there is speculation that she had been doing something like maybe some escorting on the side by very male-dominated media circles. Like, as you know, you've heard.
Okay, yeah.
You've seen like Fox News and stuff, right? Where it's like, well, she's making money on the internet, but it can't possibly be enough to be living that lifestyle.
Yeah.
She's probably having sex with 2014.
Oh, okay, yeah, because this was still back before like a lot of people started making money on
but
YouTube.
she was still making money, and it's not the living expenses aren't as high as here.
But
as
I don't think people realize how much money you can actually make off of YouTube, and especially when you're the only person doing it in the country. And she probably was making a lot of money.
She was,
and that's really sad that people were saying that she was an escort because.
But that's what they do.
That ad revenue was just doing that.
That's what they do, though.
Yeah.
As you've already seen in lots of media outlets, they make speculations that lead to fucking murders or whatever else. Anyways, this helped pay for so Qandeel never formally confronted these rumors, but had said that she deliberately focused on social media to avoid the sleaze of modeling. She said, I think you know what type of people are sitting in showbiz and how they misuse girls, making indirect offers and asking to join them at parties. And she didn't want to be a part of that scene. That's why she did YouTube videos on Facebook. Which that's why I don't think that she was an escort, because she could have made money that way, but she chose not to.
Yeah, and I don't think she needed to.
She didn't need a sugar daddy.
No. She was being her own sugar mama.
Yeah.
And taking care of herself. And good for her.
By 2015, she was named one of the 10 most Googled people in Pakistan.
Good.
And in March of 2016, she promised to strip dance for her followers and dedicate it to cricketer Shahid Afridi if Pakistan won the 2020 match against India on March 19, 2016. This was like, she did a lot of like, I'm going to do this, like to stay relevant to news. And this was like one of the big ones that she did. She also...
Did she actually do the striptease?
They lost.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, she also like begged some guy to marry her, like some politician who was like a little bit more liberal. But I mean, I feel like a lot of it was kind of stunts done to stay relevant. But I'm not going to blame her for that, because that's what you do.
Because
that's her livelihood. Yeah. She released a teaser, but ultimately never released it as Pakistan lost. She was regularly compared to Kim Kardashian by international media.
Of course she would.
But local commentators stated that she was much more significant than Kim, because she went against the grain of normal society and lived life on her own terms.
Because nobody peed on her on camera.
But also because the way Kim acts is socially acceptable. Here. And the way that she's acting, Qandeel is acting, is not
she's going against the grain.
Yeah, it's just not okay in Pakistan. It's totally different.
She's not Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. But I understand where they're coming from, because she's just as popular in their country.
Yeah, but I mean, just by saying that a dark-haired, beautiful woman who's popular, like, they were Kim Kardashian. No.
Yeah, but I guess it's also like they're both utilizing social media platforms that keep relevant, I guess is the other thing. Yeah. But anyways, in June 2016, Qandeel met with senior cleric Mullah Mufti Abdul Kavi, a religious senior clerk from Multan. They were previously connected in April 2016 during a televised live debate with each other. They weren't in the same room, but they were having like a debate about things. They they kind of, like when you put a celebrity who doesn't know that much in debate, they loved having her for that in Pakistani news, because they loved making her look stupid. Yeah. It was like their favorite thing to do.
Of course.
So Mullah Kavi expressed a desire to meet Qandeel in person the next time he was in Karachi. They met in a hotel room where Qandeel took selfies with Mullah Kavi. In a short video shot by Qandeel, Mullah Kavi was recorded saying that he was happy to have been visited by the model and hopes to offer her guidance on issues related to religion. I'll be guiding Qandeel Baloch, and I am hopeful she'll listen to me. The media lost their fucking mind on this. Why? And this meeting between a famous mullah and a notorious model, because he's the Pope. Like, no, he's not the Pope, but he's like a bishop or something, someone in a really high position of power in the religious section. And here's the slut. And here's like the liberal girl, basically, right? Wow. So she's basically Antichrist to them. Mm-hmm. So Qandeel would later accuse Mullah Kavi of sharing a soft drink and cigarette with her, even though it was Ramadan and you're not supposed to be doing any of that shit. But like she's kind of like, she already proves that she doesn't listen to those guidelines. But he's supposed to, because he's a fucking religious leader.
Yeah, he's supposed to.
Yeah. She said that he is a blot on the name of Islam. Who is he to claim to be a guardian of the faith?
Ooh,
yeah. Mullah Kavi was let go from a prestigious moon sighting committee because of this short video, because they didn't want to be associated with someone like him anymore, because they were just like, there's too much media. This isn't the kind of stuff you should be ever getting yourself into. During their interview together, Qandeel repeatedly alluded to the fact that they were both from Malton, something she had kept secret from social media, because she didn't really want people to know about her past personal life, because I understand that.
Yeah, because she's curated a different one.
Yeah, and she wants to be known for that new life that she's created for herself.
Not because of her dad.
So the press became obsessed with finding out the true Qandeel and uncovered her true identity, Fazia Azim.
Ooh, shit.
Just not. This is where everything goes bad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
With her true identity exposed, her family became a target from the press and the conservative community lived in, something Qandeel had tried to avoid.
Yeah.
No one knew who Qandeel Baloch was before Mullah Kavi scandal, or before the Mullah Kavi scandal. When she was revealed, the people of the area started tormenting her brother. Your sister has violated our culture and religious norms. They told him he had to do something about it, said Safdar Shah, her parents' lawyers. Because obviously this story doesn't end well.
Oh my God,
While not new to controversy, there was something about this particular time. There was something about like this particular time as she went to the Pakistani interior minister for police protection, basically begging for police protection, because she's like, this time it's different. This time it's really dangerous for me.
Yeah, they're going after her family.
And they did not respond.
Of course they didn't.
Prior to this, the family reconciliation did happen because she started to make money. So she's able to give her parents a better life. So Qandeel offered her parents a chance to escape Shah Sadruddin, renting them a home in Malton and paying their living expenses. Mm-hmm. And the BBC interview I watched with Hani Taha showed how proud her mother and father were of her, and how the money that she brought them a better life. And they're so cute, and it's so sad. Like, it's a 30-minute thing I saw on YouTube, and it was so good. Like, it was so well done. So
I'm glad they were proud of her.
Yeah,
because I was really worried that, especially the dad.
You're gonna get there.
Oh no.
Eid al-Fitr, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry if I'm not, is the end of Ramadan. And that year it was July 5th, but it changes every year because it's like a moon calendar, which I get because we have the same thing, was approaching. But Qandeel decided to lay low for a bit, hoping to ride out the news cycle, which usually is how it works out.
Yeah.
She spoke to the Express Tribune, stating that she feared for her life and decided to move abroad with her parents after the Eid al-Fitr holiday, as she felt unsafe in Pakistan. Mm-hmm. She decided at first not to join her parents in Malton, but changed her mind at the last moment because she thought maybe she'd be safer there. When she arrived in early July, she was for once fully concealed and seemed very frightened, asking her mom to keep the lights off in the house they were in because she was running from something.
Yeah, she was getting threats.
A few days after Qandeel came to her parents' home, her brother Wasim turned up and threatened to kill her. They had previously had a great relationship with each other.
What the fuck?
Their mother Anwar offered Wasim money to return to Sahaddin Shahsadadin, I'm never going to say that right, sorry, only for Qandeel to call and ask him to come back. She hoped to win back their relationship and promised to help him find a wife. Mm-hmm. So he does return, and he doesn't seem angry anymore. Like, he seems like, that's cool. Like, you're going to help me out now. So I guess, like, whatever.
I guess I won't kill you.
I won't kill you anymore. And he even prepared a sweet milk for everyone in the family to enjoy.
Oh, I don't like this.
On July 16th, 18 days after her true identity became public, Qandeel will be found dead by her mother in the family home. And the guy who like releases her information, like fully releases like her passport and everything, said that like, it's a job of a journalist to dig for the truth. But he said if he knew what was going to happen to her, he wouldn't have. But obviously you can't.
And there's no way that you couldn't have foreseen this. You had an entire country
that was mad at her. But money.
Yeah, but
you get the scoop first.
No, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, if it's not going to be you, it's going to be somebody else. Yeah. But like, I'm very much on it. If someone is not using their real name, there's probably a fucking reason, and maybe you shouldn't be putting their real name into the news because the family members get affected. I always feel so bad
but people like, don't think of that, and you see it all the time here, and it's always, well, if I don't do it, someone else will. Mm-hmm. So I might be the first. I might as well be the first one to do it. You have to be the
first.
Yeah. So Anwar, her mother, said, when I woke up, I was sweating a lot. I stood up, but my head was heavy and my vision blurry. I walked supported by the walls, calling Qandeel to wake up for breakfast. I lifted the blanket from her face, but she was no more in this world. I was terrified. I screamed in horror.
That was the mom?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, okay. I really hope that the brother just like poisoned the milk. Because if she died brutally, I'm going to be very upset.
The next day, Wasim was arrested for her death.
Okay.
As it often happens in honor killings, which is what he's going to try to pull this off as, Wasim went in front of the news cameras, like the live news cameras, and said, yes, I killed her last night, strangled her to death. I am not ashamed of killing her. She was doing videos on Facebook and dishonoring the family name, and there was that clerics issue. Our house was sieged by the media. Before, it wasn't like that. Basically, like, I had to do it.
You weren't even the one. Okay, you know what? He probably was getting a lot of shit.
He was probably getting a lot of shit.
I don't understand.
It's not, but like he says, he's doing all this stuff, dishonoring the family name and stuff. But it's like, you didn't care. She's been doing this for years. You didn't care she did it before, but now that your name is associated with her,
and you knew it was her,
but now it's connected to him, and he can't possibly fucking deal with it.
Yeah, and he probably a situation where they were probably like, "You're gonna lose your job," and like,
who knows? Though I don't even know if he had a job.
Yeah, and I can't see it being a situation where like
she supported the family too.
Yeah.
So there's besides
he was probably
just being
getting some of that fucking money.
Yeah, he was for sure.
Fuck this dude.
So it's to be noted that honor killings are almost always where a male member of the family will kill a female member of the family for something they perceive as wrongdoing.
Fuck.
Which could literally be the woman
anything.
Looking at something or anything.
So okay,
they call it an honor killing though.
Why? Okay. But like, why do they call it honor killing? Because like you're
for
killing
honor
someone
of your family. Your family name's honor.
You just dishonored your family by murdering someone. Is murder not a dishonorable act over there?
It doesn't seem
or is it like situational?
It's okay because biblically speaking, because
that's not murder.
Yeah, biblically speaking, some murders are okay. Because you've seen that, right?
Yeah,
so it's like that. And from honor killings, what I read of, which is in here, but I actually know offhand, is that if the family of the victim forgives you, you are dissolved of that killing.
Did they? Oh, no, I'm about to get real fucking mad.
It's fine.
Because, okay, I can't see the mom doing it. Maybe
everyone in the family has to agree.
Oh, everyone.
Not just one person. The entire family has to forgive him for it.
Everyone does. Okay.
It turned out that Wasim had spiked the sweet milk with sleeping pills, and he had asphyxiated her while she was asleep. Like he pinched her mouth and nose closed. And that's how he killed her.
And he couldn't even, like, he had a fucking week in her first. Like, she was probably like...
And honor killings can be forgiven under blood money laws derived from Sharia, which is part of their religion.
Yeah, Sharia's law.
Yeah. And that's the same thing. If their victims' relatives forgive them, they're absolved of the crime.
Yeah.
Muhammad, Qandeel's father, said, "My daughter was brave, and I will not forget or forgive her brutal murder." This murder showed a stark difference in cultural and political climates around the world, as most Western celebrities and political figures flooded Twitter with condemnation. Like Kim Kardashian, because she seen it, was just like, this is not okay. You can't just go fucking killing women for just whatever reason you want.
Yeah, because she made a Facebook video.
But many people in Pakistan were more inclined to support her murder. And there were comments on YouTube basically being like, well, she deserved it.
Okay, I don't think she deserved it. I really don't think that. I do think that there is a cultural shift. I'm trying, like, I live in the Western civilization, so, like,
so we're obviously on the side of she shouldn't have fucking died or been murdered.
Plus, we're women. So, yeah, she shouldn't have been murdered or killed, especially from her brother. Like,
yeah. So, Pakistani filmmaker Sharmeen Obaid Chaini, which I'm gonna say these names wrong, I'm really sorry, would say, "I really feel that no woman is safe in this country until we start making examples of people, until we start sending men who kill women to jail, unless we literally say there's no more killings, and those who do it will spend the rest of their lives behind bars." Yep. There's not a single day where you don't pick up a paper and see a woman who has been killed. Like, there has someone dies.
Like, even you still can't.
Yeah, and this is an epidemic.
Yeah.
This, of course, doesn't mean that she didn't have a fair share of assholes who waited for her death to tarnish her name further.
Yeah.
Like, let's go back to that cleric guy, Mullah Kavi, who couldn't fucking wait until her body was fucking all the way cold to just start slandering her because...
Well, yeah, because, like, now she's dead, and now he can...
Oh, you're gonna... When I say this, you're gonna be mad. So, he insisted that he's a liberal who supports reforms of honor killings, but suggested that her murder was a sign of God's displeasure and a message to others. Basically being like, she is an example of what happens if you go against religion and the ways that we live our life. And I've watched her videos.
You know what? They fucking do that. People in power do that all of the time. Yeah. All of the time. Like...
So, and then it goes further. Gosh. She made fun of Imran Khan, Shahid Afridi, and the Pakistan cricket team, and no one said anything. But when you insult a scholar like himself, you see the reaction. Qandeel says she had 700,000 followers, but when she died, hardly 100 people attended her funeral prayer. This is because people respect muftis, like scholars like himself, and she disrespected me. And that's the reason why she had to die, because she disrespected him. Yes, that's what he fucking said.
Oh my God.
It's also to be noted that Mullah Kabi is kind of a creepy guy, which you should already know by now.
Yeah, I figured as much.
When the BBC reporter Hani Taha interviewed him, she said off camera, as he explained what her name means, he got really close to her face and then like touched her face with both of his hands, like booped it. And she like told the police about it later because it was super weird.
That is a power play.
Yeah, and she's even mentioned how fucking creepy that was, like in the interview as well. And she's just like, he's weird. He's a weird guy, and he's super creepy. Don't worry though, he's doing really well right now. Mullah Kavi has been nominated in Qandeel's murder case and is being investigated by the police in Multan. But as of today, he is free. And one source, because there isn't a ton of sources available because it's in Pakistan, has him appointed as an advisor for religious affairs by the current Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. Because it doesn't matter what you do.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why he's involved with the murder.
Because there is speculation that maybe he is the reason why, like, maybe he pushed the brother to do it.
Probably. I mean, it's sort of
if someone
of
that power goes someone of like that low self-esteem or that low, I guess, position in life, they'll listen to them.
if the Pope comes to a normal Catholic person and says, you know, your soul will be saved, there's lots of people who would kill the other person to get their soul saved because the Pope told them.
Yeah. So he because he was getting sort of like shunned because of that video, right?
Yeah, because it was kind of like, why did you even meet her? That's kind of like, you met her in a hotel room.
Yeah. So he's got like some like little dick syndrome where like they shunned him and then she died and now he's just gonna fucking be like, and you ruined my life.
And now he's potentially an advisor for religious affairs for the prime minister there.
Well, of course, because
but it's like, it was only confirmed by one article. I don't know if it's true everywhere else. I don't speak the language. I can't read it.
Yeah, but still, I mean, bad people get rewarded like for bad. It happens all the fucking time, especially in like religious areas.
Very religious areas. Yeah. So in May 2018, Sanan Maher wrote a book about Qandeel's story called The Sensational Life and Death of Qandeel Baloch. And Muhammad and Anwar, her parents, were thrown back into poverty after Qandeel's death as they couldn't afford their home in Multan anymore. Then they moved back to a compound in Shah Sadar Din, which is where they're originally from, with 25 members of their extended family. Anwar carries around a hairband, mascara, liner, and phone charger to remember her daughter. And like I watched that in the documentary, and she pulls him out, and you just want to cry.
That's all she has left.
Yeah, just to remember. They pointed out during the documentary the bed that she died on, because like for some reason the bed it was like a whole thing. But yeah. Muhammad went on to say about Wasim, I cannot forgive him. I want him to be shot dead in front of me. So the likelihood of him getting caught for honor killings are very unlikely. And there have been some reforms done after this because like a lot of people protested. There was obviously people on both sides in the situation, but enough people protested that something was done. So it'll be harder for him to be forgiven for honor killing, but it doesn't mean that if his parents don't come around, then potentially he could still get let go. But his parents are still fucking mad because saying that he was never ashamed of Qandeel's social media presence of actions, her father said she was a brave girl and it was her bravery that made her famous. If she had not taken risks, she would not have become famous.
Exactly.
And that's
true.
Her story, Qandeel Baloch's story.
That is...
She wasn't even like she was very pretty, obviously, and like she wasn't especially sexualized, but I assume it is in comparison. Like
she probably was there because there wasn't anything else like her.
No.
So it's like, yeah, the men are going to be over sexualized because now they've got a Pakistani woman who's in a bathtub and in a bikini and they can like see her skin.
So you can see her skin, her boobs, her cleavage.
Yeah, like,
and
just
her
body.
Form. You could see her form, entire body form and be
curves,
like, whoa, yeah.
So yeah, she probably was over sexualized, but not necessarily that she was being like, I'm sure she was being a little sexual or like, but like that's her fucking right.
Yeah.
And like,
and it was sad.
I wish there was more information on like the brother on like why he did it. Like if he was being pressured from like,
it sounded like because he was getting harassed a lot by the neighbors who realized that he's her brother and was like, how come you didn't do anything about it? So I think that he was a weak-minded person
for sure.
who was easily swayed by other people's opinions, which happens a lot, and easily could see why that has happened because something like that. And it was really sad because right after her identity came out and they found out that she had a son and they were kind of trying to like shame her for leaving her son behind, she was saying that like she really wanted to see if she can get her son back, but that's when all that stuff about like the fact that her previous husband hadn't even told her son that she was his mom. And so like,
that's
she had a full life to live and she was very young. And it's so much sadder, I think, when a young life is taken before they can do more.
For this reason.
Yeah.
For this reason. And like, for me, it's almost worse that it was her brother and not like a random person. Like if it was just like an angry person on the street, I'd be like, well, you're just an angry piece of shit. This was her brother
who she got along with until her identity was released. But it's like, but you knew who she was before.
Yeah. And like you drugged your parents.
You drugged everyone in the family.
You planned it.
Yeah.
It's
like, murder because it's premeditated for sure.
It sucks so much because like she invited him back. Like she really
loved him.
Yeah.
She really wanted to make everything better.
Yeah.
And her brother was just like basically like, well, you know, my life is a little harder now because of her.
Yeah. Which, Jesus. I mean,
could have just waited out the news cycle. It would have gone. Everything would have gone over.
People have killed for less. Like it's not. It's just. It's upsetting and it's sad because it's wasted. Her life was. It's wasteful. That is not what I was expecting. And fuck that like monk guy,
the cleric guy, the mullah guy.
Like, wouldn't be surprised if like he tried to rape her and like she turned him down.
But then I'm surprised that she wouldn't have mentioned it. But I guess she would have gotten even more backlash if she even mentioned him putting his hands on her.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't something that she wanted to do. Like it was probably a situation where it was like, you know what, I never want to see you again. Because women do that all the fucking time. Like
they don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But I did want to note my sources because for once I actually wrote it down.
Awesome.
The Guardian and Wikipedia, obviously, and BBC from the reporter Hani Taha, who did the beautiful documentary, 30-minute documentary about her life, which was so sad. And then I actually watched like the Pakistani Idol like clip where she did it. And I don't speak the language. I have no idea what the judges are saying, but from the comments, it sounds like they were being really rude to her. Mm-hmm. And I watched like the music video that she was invited to do with some other rapper guy and stuff. And she was like in basically a bodysuit dancing.
Yeah, which I mean to us is probably like nothing because we grew up watching fucking Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and I'm just picturing Britney Spears in like that nude bodysuit with the crystals on it, and just being like, yeah, that's what I grew up watching. Like,
and then like it just was just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
But
which I understand, like for her to do it would be like a whole nother level because they're used to like the big black garments. I don't know what they're called. And a lot of people,
apparently it was one of those things where people loved trolling her and like kind of saying mean things to her because it was just like, what we do, what makes you think you're so pretty, or what makes you think you're so special, and blah blah blah, like all that. Because
everyone just wants to tear down somebody else.
It's not even like just women. It's they want to hate
internet.
Everyone. Don't read the comments ever.
Well, that's it for this episode.
Thanks for listening. Email us any interesting stories at peoplekeepdying@gmail.com. Like and review us, all the stuff that you do.
Yeah, we super appreciate it. It would mean a lot to us if you guys would do that. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.
See you next week. Talking to you next week.
Yes,
talking at you.
We look forward to talking at you next week. And wow, I hate ending these.
No, it's you always say, and I hope you're not dead next week. Bye.
And I hope you're not dead.
I hope you're not dead next week, or you're not in prison.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.